Bill has written in one of his e-newsletters, Can America Survive Barack Obama's Final Days? And then I said we want to talk a little bit about, well, the buildup of what appears to be Gog-Magog, Ezekiel 38:39. That is speculation. We don't know that's happening. It appears it could be. But, Bill, let's go back to the other question. You're serving in the White House press corps, and you have for some 14, 15 years. So, I mean, I realize you got to be a little bit careful with what you say, but you're right. But be as blunt as you can about your thoughts on America surviving the next 400-plus days of Barack Obama.
Well, Jan, I think what really surprises and maybe shocks the appropriate word, too, is the ability that Obama has had to be able to get his agenda across, even with an overwhelmingly big majority in the House and also in the Senate. Not as big in the Senate, which is about 54 Republican senators, 46 Democrats, where it's much more significant in the House of Representatives. And he has been able to masterfully hit all the right buttons. It's been quite interesting to see the fact that he's been able to get so much done and being really being in a position of weakness. But they have masterfully and strategically been able to get almost everything he's wanted through Congress, what it has to do with the Iran deal, the new budget deal, getting rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but that was previous to the fact when the Republicans weren't in a majority in the House or Senate. But nonetheless, he's been able to get so many things through. The big concern is when he doesn't get his way, which happens from time to time, he uses executive orders. And that's the greatest concern with the 15-month or so remaining time in office, is his willingness to use executive orders. Some people are concerned about a blanket amnesty. The other thing has to do with the global warming debate, that he'll go ahead and put some things through, even though it's becoming more and more apparent that global warming is not anything what they have cooked it to be, and that he will do some executive orders in that area. Who knows what else? And the other thing, Jan, is really this situation in the Middle East is the most dangerous that I've ever seen it from my many years of watching the Middle East and having great interest in what takes place in Israel and the Middle East. And the other thing is we've got a problem right now, the United States does, with China in the south area of the world. That could be a factor. And from time to time we hear and have concerns about North Korean nuclear missile capability or nuclear capability. So there's just a lot of issues that could be on the international front that could be serious, and if they're inept and not able to handle these, it could be traumatic. And then on the domestic front, Obama being able to get his agenda through, whether he gets it through Congress or uses executive orders.
Yeah. Well, again, and we talked 2016 election in the opening a few minutes of the program, and let me just ask you, and you don't have to name any names here, but do you feel there's a candidate who could repair the wreckage, literally repair the wreckage, turn things around, or again, maybe too late? I don't know.
Well, then that's a good question. I think you can look at it in three places. Fiscal responsibility. We're getting close to $19 trillion federal debt. We've got to do something. It's excessive. Some of the candidates favor a flat tax, no income tax for people up to $35,000, and beyond that, 10, 15, maybe up to 20% tax. Something's necessary to make the economy stronger in a real sense, not throwing more debt at it. And so there's a fiscal responsibility. Can anybody, as far as a future president, and preferably a Republican, primarily because there's going to have a Republican House and a Republican Senate in all likelihood. So, second thing is the moral condition of America. The Republican Party has a battle right now between the moderates and conservatives. The moderates are saying, hey, we don't care so much about the social issues such as abortion, LGBT, same-sex marriage. We just need to move away from that, where the conservatives are more adamant than ever that we need to stop that and change that and go back to the state's decisions on marriage. And the third thing is our position in the world. We need a really strong leader that's going to deal with Putin and the Middle East and some of the challenges that we have in Europe and possibly with China. So, the next president is going to have his hands full in terms of responsibilities, Jan, and some of these things, the damage is so deep and also the divisiveness is so deep, it's getting to a point where it will become more and more difficult to legislate here in Washington.
I want to talk eschatology for a few minutes anyway, and I did refer to the fact that there's been quite a massive discovery of oil in the Golan Heights in Israel. We have natural gas in the Mediterranean off of the Israel coast, and I think you and I are wondering, since Vladimir Putin is clearly one of the most aggressive Russian leaders, he kind of faded off the scene, now he's back on the scene big time, if he could be Gog from the land of Magog. And I know there are various interpretations on that whole passage. I believe Magog is Russia. I know others feel it's Turkey, etc. I don't buy into that. But anyway, your thoughts on the fact that Ezekiel 38:39 could be shaping up?
No doubt about it, Jen. You know, for us that have watched Ezekiel 38 and 39 for many, many years, the Gog-Magog war of a Russian Federation of Turkey, Iran, Libya, Ethiopia, Sudan, and former Soviet Union countries eventually coming against Israel. You know, we believed that it had to be some type of economic component. In the last 5 to 7 years, all of a sudden, you know, this massive natural gas find of the Tamar field and the Leviathan field have been found off the Israeli coast. These are massive, massive natural gas finds. And Gazprom, the Russian oil company, has been negotiated once and was turned down by Israel because Russia did not want to see Israeli natural gas compete with them in Europe. Russia supplies about 35% of Western Europe's natural gas. That didn't work, and I think they've worked out some differences now, so there's going to be some type of marketing relationship between Russia's Gazprom oil company and Israel. Second thing, just recent that you're alluding to, is this really significant oil find in the Golan Heights. And most of the articles you read about are talking about the fact that Israel has found this in the occupied Golan Heights. Well, we know what occupied means. That means that Israel's occupying someone else's land. And according to UN Resolution 338, Israel needs to eventually give that land up to Syria. Also had to do with UN Resolution 242. Basically, Israel is occupying Syrian land that Israel obtained in this 1967 Six-Day War. So now with Russia moving in, setting up military facilities inside of Syria, and also operating out of Syrian ports, and their aggressive pursuit to move into Syria to prop up Assad, and in coordination with the assistance of Iran, this could rapidly lead to a point that Syria says, now, after Assad is, if in fact this happens, Assad and Russia and Iran defeat ISIS, then they're going to say, Assad might say, we want our Golan Heights now. So this could definitely be one of the other catalysts that leads to this Gog-Magog war.